There's a new pawn in the game of Brexit chess, 17 pawns, in fact, life-size and made of marble, plus 247 feet of sculpted frieze.The EU sparked a panic this week, when its draft negotiating mandate revealed a clause concerning the need to address issues relating to the return or restitution of unlawfully removed cultural objects to their countries of origin. This has been taken to mean the so-called Elgin Marbles, plundered, or rescued, depending on your point of view, from Greece in the 19th century, and for 188 years taking pride of place at the British Museum. The uproar has been as vocal as it was predictable. Brexiteers are furious that the EU would even consider holding Britain hostage over our statues, while Remainers, if we can still use that term, are smugly arguing that such concessions are the inevitable price of leaving the bloc. There has been a palpable sense from the latter that the Prime Minister's tough, some might say aggressive, stance towards the negotiations and his insistence that the transition period will not be extended past December are to blame for the EU now taking a hardline approach. But this isn't actually a debate about marbles. Rather, it's a standard feature of EU negotiations. The question of returning the Elgin Marbles, or, more accurately, the Parthenon Marbles, is hardly a new one. Greece has been pushing for their repatriation for decades, and even built a special museum for them in 2009. There are strong voices on both sides. The returners, many of them British academics, point not only to the dubious morality of how these artefacts were obtained by the Earl of Elgin, but also to the value of people being able to see them in their original home. The retainers cite a paper trail showing the legitimacy of removing them from Greece, and argue that had they remained in situ they would likely not have survived. They also point to the millions of global visitors who get to experience them at the British Museum each year. At some point, the marbles will probably make their way back to Athens. But their place on the negotiating mandate has very little to do with that debate, and everything to do with how the EU works. This is a classic example of the difficulties the EU has negotiating trade deals, and why, however rash it seems, Boris Johnson was right to set a hard December deadline. Basic trade deals, covering things like tariffs and competition rules, fall under the EU's jurisdiction, and can be agreed by the EU institutions alone. More complicated agreements that cover areas where member states retain some sovereignty, rules on visas, intellectual property, services, and data, for example, are defined as mixed, and require not only EU ratification, but also approval from the governments of every member state. This means that, for comprehensive trade agreements, 27 individual governments have an opt. For more on this story, visit the news article link.